The clock on the wall does not tick. It counts down. It is a steady, rhythmic subtraction of existence. According to the Goral Chronology, human history is not a linear march toward progress, but a 7-day week anchored to the dawn of 4115 BC. 1 millennium is a single day. We have lived through the long, slow light of the morning and the heat of the afternoon. Now, the shadows lengthen. We are currently in the final watch of the 6th day. The gears of this chronology grind with a precision that ignores human ambition. Every second that passes is a second stripped from the total. There is no pause button. There is no reset. The mechanism is fixed, locked into a trajectory that began long before the first stone was laid. We stand at the precipice of the final hour, watching the numbers drop. The air feels thin, charged with the static of an approaching deadline. History is not repeating itself. It is concluding. The silence in the room is heavy, broken only by the internal machinery of a timeline that has finally decided to reveal its true intent. We are running out of time. The clock hits midnight. 3115 BC. The first day of the Goral week ends with a violent tremor that shakes the foundations of the earth. In the deep silence following the quake, the first great sign of revelation, 12 tears across the heavens, a celestial warning that goes unheeded by the masses. Down in the dust, the first Titan, Tubal-Cain, steps into the light of his own making. He stands before a furnace that burns with a color not found in nature. He does not merely shape metal. He forces forbidden knowledge into the iron. He hammers the secrets of the abyss into the raw ore, bending the earth to his will. The metal glows, pulsing with a rhythmic, unnatural heat. This is the birth of the first rebellion. Every strike of his hammer against the anvil rings out like a challenge to the heavens. He is building a structure of defiance, a foundation for a kingdom that rejects the natural order. The air around the forge grows heavy, thick with the smell of ozone. The first lot for judgment is cast in the sparks that fly from his forge. The rebellion has begun, and the world is no longer what it was. The clock advances. 3 BC. The early morning watch of the second day arrives, and the heavens align once more. The star sign repeats, but the frequency has shifted. This is the 85th Jubilee, the precise interval of the Goral. In a quiet corner of the earth, the cycle of rebellion meets its match. Jesus Christ is born. He enters the timeline not with the strike of a hammer, but with the authority of the true heir. As the morning star, he pierces the gloom that has lingered since the first Titan. His arrival is a legal maneuver against the darkness, a reclamation of the human spirit from the shadows of the Titan Age. Where the forge once demanded submission to iron, the birth of the true heir offers a path of restoration. The atmosphere shifts. The heavy, scorched air of the previous era begins to thin, replaced by a clarity that exposes the fragility of the rebellion. The light of the morning star illuminates the path, turning the tide of the 7-day week and setting the stage for the final, inevitable confrontation. The clock ticks forward to the 120th Jubilee, the 23rd of September 2017. The heavens ignite with a familiar, terrifying brilliance. Across the globe, eyes turn upward. Billions watch the sky, waiting for the signs they believe they understand. They search for meaning in the constellations, debating the alignment of stars and planets, fully consumed by the spectacle above. But while the world stares at the light, the darkness shifts below. The heavens speak again. But the message is not for the masses. It is a signal for the birth of the counterseed. In the quiet, unseen corners of the earth, the shadow takes form. The Antichrist is born. He enters the world not as a king in the light, but as a presence in the periphery. He is the final Titan, a seed planted in the fertile soil of a world already turning away from the truth. The counterseed has arrived, and the long, slow descent into the final watch has begun. The Mahdi matures in a world wired for his arrival. He does not need to conquer with iron blades. He inherits a kingdom of light and fiber. The global system expands, folding every transaction, every movement, and every thought into a singular, transparent grid. This is the architecture of the white horse of the first seal. It moves silently, disguised as convenience, yet it functions as a cage. Screens flicker in every hand, feeding the network with the data of 1 billion lives. The atmosphere thickens with the weight of constant observation. People trade their autonomy for the speed of the connection, unaware that they are building the throne for the final titan. The digital conquest is absolute. It is a soft, invisible pressure that flattens dissent and streamlines obedience. The Mahdi watches from the center of this web, his influence growing in tandem with the reach of the signal. The world is no longer a collection of nations. The ride of the white horse has begun, and the pace is accelerating. The infrastructure of the end is complete. The calendar hits 2033 AD, 2,000 years since the cross. The world expects a milestone, a quiet reflection on history. But the heavens have other plans. The seals are not merely opened, they are torn. The sound is not heard in the ears, but felt in the marrow of the earth. Reality fractures. The digital grid that once held the world in a stable, monitored embrace begins to shudder and warp. Data streams turn into static, and the screens that served as the eyes of the system go black, then flare with blinding, corrupted light. The collapse is instantaneous. Markets vanish in a heartbeat. Borders dissolve into lines of fire. The infrastructure of the modern age, built on the illusion of permanence, disintegrates. Under the pressure of the ancient mandate, cities tremble as the foundations of the old order fail. There is no time to react, no time to prepare, only the raw, terrifying speed of the unraveling. The sky above seems to peel back, revealing the gears of a clock that has finally run out of patience. Everything that was once solid, everything that was once certain, is now suspended in a state of violent transition, watching the systematic destruction of the world. The clock strikes 5:50 a.m., 2039 AD. The air grows thin, stripped of the last lingering influence that held back the tide. The restrainer is removed. There is no thunder, no final warning, only a sudden, hollow silence that sweeps across the broken landscape. The resistance that once flickered in the shadows of the digital ruins simply ceases to be. Into this vacuum steps the prince of the inverse seed. At 22 years of age, he moves with the cold, calculated grace of a predator who has waited for the world to exhaust itself. He does not claim the throne through battle. He occupies it because the seat is finally empty. The remnants of global power bow before him, not out of allegiance, but out of a paralyzing recognition of the inevitable. He sits. The darkness that has been gestating now finds its focal point. The world watches as the final architecture of the rebellion locks into place. Every eye is drawn to the center of the stage, where the prince surveys the wreckage of history. He is the embodiment of the prophecy, the living proof that the clock was never wrong. The year 2046 AD, AM 6250. The 125th Jubilee arrives, a convergence point known as Grace Cubed. The clock hand hits the final second, and the air itself ignites. The prince of the inverse seed sits upon his throne, his authority absolute, yet the foundation beneath him begins to liquefy. There is no gradual decline, no slow retreat. The rebellion, built over millennia of shadow and iron, shatters in a single blinding instant. The structures of the digital empire buckle, not from external force, but from an internal, sudden rejection of their own existence. The true king returns. He does not arrive with an army. He arrives as the dawn. The light cuts through the darkness of the throne room, turning the cold, calculated architecture of the Antichrist into dust. The prince stands, his eyes wide, as the reality he claimed to own dissolves. The cosmic order, long tilted toward the abyss, snaps back into alignment. The era of the rebellion ends with the restoration of the original design. The dust of the fallen throne settles, and the air grows still. The long, jagged history of the Titan Age dissolves into the silence of a new morning. Across the horizon, The darkness that once defined the world retreats, pulled back by an unseen tide. Then, the Sabbath sun rises. It does not glare. It illuminates. It climbs above the ruins of the old world, casting a light that reaches into every corner where shadow once held sway. The Goral is restored. It is not an abstract concept, but a physical reality that anchors the earth once more. The broken clock on the wall stops its countdown, its gears locking into a perfect eternal rhythm. The righteous walk through the remnants of the digital empire, finding the ground solid and the air clear of the static that once choked the spirit. Everything that was stolen is returned. Every debt is settled. The confusion of the past 7 days of human history fades, replaced by the clarity of the original design. There is no more striving, no more fear of the coming watch, and no more need for the sword. The earth breathes in a deep, steady pulse, synchronized with the heartbeat of the true king. Justice is no longer a distant hope, it is the atmosphere itself. The rebellion is a forgotten memory, a shadow burned away by the radiance of the Sabbath. Peace settles over the landscape, absolute and unyielding. The cycle is complete. The inheritance of man is secured, and the world begins its first day of an endless, quiet light.